Craig, want to do the Chargers? LA Chargers.
You want me to do the Chargers?
Chiefs?
Want me to do the Chargers or the Chiefs?
Yeah, you can do the Chargers or Chiefs. It's up to you.
I do the Chiefs.
You want to do the Chiefs?
I brought them up.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me just. All right, so this is gonna be easy. I don't have to.
Yeah, it's gonna be quick.
So Andy Reid is a really good coach. Everybody knows it. Super Bowl winner. He's just a really good. He's a really good coach. I think probably besides Bill Belichick, I would probably put him at number 2 right now. You could probably make the argument that he's the best coach in the league, especially with what Bill Belichick has to deal with now. But I mean, Andy Reid I think he's a class act. I think he's a great coach. And he just built this team pretty much like he built this team to go from like anybody watching football back, I don't know, 5 years ago, the Chiefs weren't this. And now all of a sudden they're Super Bowl team. They won again last year, projected to go again this year. So, my hat's off to Andy Reid. I think he's done a really great job out in Kansas City, especially coming from Philly, and not being able to getting that monkey off his back, basically, of going to a Super Bowl and winning one, and just having that stigma that he can't win. We need a big one, or he can't make it to the big one. Where he did make it, but he didn't win it when he lost to New England. But just that he can win it, so he got that off his back, and he's just pretty much playing with house money now with this team. Obviously, their quarterback. I mean, Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. Probably be MVP candidate again this year. He had 38 touchdowns, 6 picks, 4,700 yards last season, and he played in 15 games out of 16. So I kind of expect the same type of numbers: high touchdowns, low turnovers, a lot of yards, probably over 5,000 yards with extra game in there. And I mean, he's just going to be in the MVP conversation again. I think their backfield is a little bit in question, though. I like Edwards-Helaire, but he's come off the injury that he had last year. Last year, he only rushed for 100 yards twice in the games that he played. And I just think that they need more consistency out of him. I know they have McKinnon and they have Williams, but, Edwards-Helaire is that guy. And I believe he's still hurt in training camp. So I think he's still scheduled to start week 1, or he's scheduled to be back. But you don't want your star running back in just a second season to be coming off of another injury, or they're having injuries in training camp and still trying to get his legs back and things like that. But I think if he does come back, when he does come back healthy, I think he's a really good running back. And even if right now, if he doesn't, either one of those two, him or Williams, doesn't make it back, they have McKinnon, who's a solid, when he's healthy, he's a solid running back as well. You saw what he did with San Francisco and a couple other teams before that. So I don't know. To me, I'm not really high on their wide receivers. Like they have Hill and they have Kelsey, but outside of those two, it's really like who's who, like who's going to get the ball. I'm assuming it's going to be Hardman. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at like you just throwing names out of a hat. DeMarcus Robinson, Brian Pringle, Marcus Kemp. Like these are guys most people probably hadn't even heard of. So other than those two, like if one of those two goes down, then yeah, it's going to be an issue. So we'll have to see what happens with this offensive unit, especially the wide receivers, because I'm waiting for somebody who's going to be that person to step up. Because basically last year, I believe Hill and Kelsey combined for 26 touchdowns receiving last year out of the 40 total that they got. 38 from Mahomes and 2 from Chad Henne. So 26 out of 40 receiving touchdowns. That's, I don't know what the percentage is, but that's high, basically. So they're going to pretty much have to be the same way again coming up this year. And I do see a high amount of volume for both of those guys, but somebody else has to come in and step up. Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz not there this year. The trade for Orlando Brown Jr. was solid for them because they needed. Saw what happened in the Super Bowl last year when those two guys were out, Fisher and Schwartz, and they just got steamrolled. So they go out in the offseason, make a trade for Orlando Brown. They signed Joe Thuney. Is that how you say his name? Thuney, something like that. they get him. Mike Rimmers is still is there. He had a solid 2020 season. So the offensive line should be a lot better this year, especially how it ended. I know they definitely weren't satisfied with that, and to me, the biggest reason why they lost last year was the offensive line for them. I think maybe if they had an offensive line, I think they definitely would have contended better. So hopefully this year they'll have that. I think the defense is decent, it's solid. Excuse me. Frank Clark, great pass rusher. Then he's gonna get to the quarterback. Chris Jones, like these guys are solid. And then you look at the secondary as well, like obviously the Honey Badger, excuse me, L'Jarius Sneed. I think he had a really good season last year. He was a 4th round pick, and he I think they kind of struck gold with him. And Travarius Ward, I think he's a solid cornerback as well. So they have some pieces. I think the defense is probably especially their linebackers is kind of weak. Willie Gay Jr. and Nick Bolton, kind of not really big names, but overall the offense is going to carry this team. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. I definitely think the Chiefs are going to probably get home field again. I'm giving them 14-3. And actually, no, take that back. Giving them 15-2. I don't think Mahomes has lost more than 1 or 2 games in the season anyway. So I'm going 15-2.
All right. Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid, I mean, right now he's probably the best coach in the NFL. And the Chiefs have been, since he's been there, the Chiefs have been one of the best teams in the NFL. Great guy, great leader. I mean, there's nothing more you can say. The Kansas City Chiefs, just going back from what he did and how he brought Mahomes along, right? He drafts Mahomes, they go to the playoffs, and then he put Mahomes right in. Mahomes sat for 1 year. People don't even mention that no more. That's how good Mahomes is. But he's like Andy Reid is a great coach. He's great with quarterbacks. The Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL, period. Until he remains to be dethroned. The offensive line. Okay, so the running back position, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he's a good running back, but you're right. Craig said it. He just needs to be more consistent, and he needs to stay healthy. The offensive line, the GM said we're going to blow it up and it's going to look totally different. He said that right after the Super Bowl, and he's a man of his word because that's exactly what they did. Orlando Brown trade was perfect. He's going to be good. He wanted to play left tackle, Pro Bowler left tackle. Then you have Joe Thuney. They signed him. Kyle Long comes out of retirement. They're deep. The offensive line looks totally different. You know, that's how the great teams are. They turn a weakness into a strength, you know. The tight end, Travis Kelce, and I said, I think he's the best in the NFL. And if he keeps going like this, I mean, if he has a couple more seasons like this, people might start him considered the best tight end of all time. That's what people are saying. People are saying if he wins like another Super Bowl or two and puts up these records, I don't know. I don't know. This is what I'm hearing. People are saying it. Then you have the fastest receiver in the NFL, and Tyreek Hill, and he's one of the best. But let's see if Mecole Hardman can have a step up and be that number 2. He's saying he's ready. He's had a great camp, but let's see if it transitions on the field. Defense line has Jarran Reed and Chris Jones. Chris Jones is great, but I think he needs to have a better year than last year. And Frank Clark, I believe he had some off-field issues. But he needs to be a sack creator. Hopefully those off the field issues don't bite him back because they cannot afford to lose anybody on that defense. The linebackers are Anthony Hitchens and Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is starting. I was very high on Nick Bolton in the draft. He came from Missouri. I think he fits the defensive scheme pretty good. The cornerbacks, Javarius Ward and L'Jarius Sneed, they're decent. I'm not going to say they're good, but they're okay. And then you have the safeties, Daniel Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu. Listen, Tyrann Mathieu is the best safety, and one of the best safeties in the NFL. He can do it all. He can hit. He can cover tight ends. He's fast. He's a great leader. Just his story alone, from where he came from LSU to where he is now, he's putting together a Hall of Fame resume. I looked it up and was like, what? Like, he's putting together a Hall of Fame resume. He's probably going to get paid this offseason because it's in a contract year. He's worth it. Overall prediction, the Chiefs are the cream of the crop of the AFC. They have a great roster. There's not much to say. Their defense is mediocre. That's what you want your defense to be with them. Like, you just need to put the offense in spots and make some plays. This team will be the best in the AFC until someone takes their crown. I got them at 14-3, or like Craig said, 15-2. I mean, Mahomes just wins games, man. All right, Corey.
All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs, coach Andy Reid, just honestly, there's not a whole lot to say. One of the best in the NFL. And, after seeing what he did with the Eagles, I'm happy to see him having the success he is. Offensively, the unit obviously starts with Patrick Mahomes. While the Chiefs did lose the Super Bowl, Mahomes absolutely outplayed Tom Brady in that game. The two best throws in that game were incompletions from Patrick Mahomes, where he made insane plays and his receivers just dropped touchdowns. It's either Mahomes or Rodgers for best at the position right now. Receiving wise, they got Hill and Kelsey back. They did lose Sammy Watkins, so their wide receiver depth could be questioned a little bit. As James said, it's time for Mecole Hardman to step up and be a consistent contributor. Not a guy that's just going to show up for 2 games, go off, and then do very little the rest of the year. McKinnon could be an interesting option in this offense. I do think the story of this unit, though, is probably the moves they made along the offensive line. You said Mahomes did get battered in that Super Bowl by Tampa Bay. I think the Chiefs may have overcorrected a little bit, actually. They had both of their tackles out in the Super Bowl because of injury. They would have gotten those back. They would have had a pretty good offensive line with them back, but they completely overhauled. They made the splash move for Orlando Brown, brought in Thuney, Kyle Long, even though he is on PUP. Their starting guard from their Super Bowl win, Verne Tardif, came back from COVID. They were getting some guys back, and they brought in a bunch of guys. So off the offensive line and offensive line depth will not be an issue. But that should also help Edwards-Helaire have a better year in his second year. Defensively, I expect the defense to be solid. They're not going to – I don't think they're going to be a top 5 defense by any means, but they'll be good enough to win games with that offense. You got a couple of top-tier guys like Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu. Frank Clark is solid. Their pass rush depth will be interesting. The Taco Charlton cuts early in camp was pretty surprising. But it sounds like they're pretty high on guys like Mike Dana and Tim Ward. So, we'll see how that looks as the season goes. Otherwise, it could be a lot of pressure on Clark and Jones to produce. Overall, I expect the Chiefs to be right back at the top of the AFC again. They didn't lose much from last year's team. The glaring issue of the Super Bowl, they more than fixed. And honestly, had they gone into that Super Bowl and still had their starting tackles, who knows how that game goes. But the Chiefs be back. Mahomes will be an MVP candidate, and I got 15-2.
All right.